Welcome in, listener. You're listening to a segment from the Slump Buster podcast with Juju and Dre. Find the full episode on Spotify, iTunes, the Google Play Store, or our YouTube channel. Enjoy.
Let's talk about this whole Devin Booker's just absolute despisal of getting double teamed in pickup games. So he was in an open gym this week with like other NBA players. Joakim Noah was there. And you know it's a bad day if Joakim Noah is clowning on this. So basically, one of the things he said is, well, he was getting double teamed. Is like, we're not doubling an open gym. I get the shit all season, bro. Let's work out our own game. And Joakim basically threw it back at him. Is like, yeah, this is part of the game. And my thought on it is, okay, so if you're getting doubled like every game and you know this is a problem for you, isn't it good that people are double teaming you off this season? That way you can work on it, know what to do in those situations, and hopefully maybe you start overcoming some of these double teams.
Yeah, so that's exactly it. So first I want to start off with Joakim Noah is a gangster, though. He's not afraid of anybody. He doesn't care what your status is. He doesn't care how good of a player you are. He will tell you to your face, hey, you're being, of words that I can't say on our podcast. Or, well, I guess I could, but I won't say that, right?
We're not getting sponsored quite yet, so
I'll keep it clean for now. But Joakim knows he's not afraid to call out anybody. And I want to say there are even times where he's gone at LeBron and he's gone at, other star players. So I totally respect that out of Joakim Noah. I actually wish that's who the Lakers would have gone with instead of Dwight Howard.
As long as it's not Cleveland, I don't think he's allowed there anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Would you go to Cleveland, bro?
No. So that is what I want to start with by saying, Joakim Noah, he's a gangster. I always appreciate guys that are willing to call, people out, especially if you're trying to improve. Now going on to the Booker thing, sort of like you said, right, it's the summertime. And granted, I get like not wanting to get injured. So no, don't have chase down blocks, right, where guys potentially run into each other and stuff like that. No, don't foul me hard where, I'm going for a layup and you lay me out, right? Like I 100% get that. But this is an actual basketball situation. And you're exactly right. Like, why wouldn't you want to get better in the summertime? Like this is the time to be working on, okay, what would I do right here? How would I make that difficult pass, or how do I get the help over that I need, or how do I get out of this situation? And the fact that Booker is like, oh no, I don't want to work on that right now. And granted, I've never played at a professional level, so I don't know what it's like.
Yeah, but what's one thing we've always been told as former athletes ourselves is like, don't work on the thing you're already good at. Work at something you're terrible at to get better. And here's the thing. We already established that Devin Booker can score. He's averaged his league average is 23.4 points in per 36. He's a 43% shooter as well. So we know he's a great scorer. But you know what else? He's also lost all 3 50-plus point games he's had in his career. Lost to Boston when he put up 70, lost to Utah and to Washington in back-to-back games, putting up 59 and 50. So he has some work. And this Phoenix Suns team led by him, I know you need help, but we've also seen plenty of teams win with just one guy carrying them on an NBA roster. And they haven't been able to top 24 wins in the 4 years he's been there. A 259 win percentage, you at least like to think you'd see some improvement on that. And they've gotten guys there too. Like DeAndre Ayton had a very underrated rookie season, and even Josh Johnson has showed some flashes defensively. So you think some of these high draft picks are at least helping to his supporting cast?
Yeah, no, I definitely see that, and the fact is, right, he has to deal with front office being inept, right, and the front office not really being able to possibly pick the best guys that fit around them. But like, people go through that though. Like LeBron James has gone through that with some of the Cleveland teams in the past. Now, granted, last year he wasn't that good with the Lakers, but he's had to elevate his team. The Greek Freak even, has done a good job. Now he had some other decent pieces around him this year. But yeah, I think if you really want to say that you're an all-star, you have to be able to elevate the game of everybody that's around you. And Devin Booker hasn't learned that. And so Devin Booker 100% will always, go out and get your points. But right now he's almost making the case for, hey, he shouldn't be your go-to option. He needs to be your second or your third option on a really good team.
Yeah, I'm just the more and more I watch this and watch that specific video of him, I just think this guy doesn't have an inner dog. The difference between analytics and manalytics, he's missing something there. I mean, like I mentioned earlier in our Team USA talk, why is he not on that team?
Mm-hmm.
I already know the Suns are not going to be a playoff team this year. So you know what? Take advantage. Represent your country. Go out there. Maybe by working with some of these other superstars, you pick up something. But no, he's decided he wanted to sit it out. He says he wanted to get healthy when his agent talked to Jerry Colangelo back in May. But what does that mean? From what I can tell, I didn't hear anything about a big Devin Booker injury this year.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear anything about a major injury from him. The other thing is they're so bad, like you said, they're not going to make the playoffs anytime soon. They'll probably even be another lottery pick team again this year. And so does it hurt if you sit out the first 10 games of the season and just say, hey, I'm still recovering from playing with USA basketball? Now, maybe he does have an injury, right? And I never want to fault a guy for taking care of their health, especially athletes. That's how they make their living. But I think the times where you get better, right, are playing in those live game situations. So you need to be able to, practice and drill certain things, but then you go out and you test it in a live game situation. And that's exactly what USA basketball would be perfect for is, hey, let me get my practice in, and then I go out and test some stuff against, players that are probably not as good as these NBA players that I would be playing against. And so I can see, hey, here's what's working for me, here's what's not. And let me improve on the places where I'm not as good at in the regular season, like you said earlier.
And, too, to add to that, Devin Booker has thrown it out there, specifically when he signed his extension with Phoenix, that he wants to make Phoenix a hot free agent destination. Where's a great recruiting place? USA basketball, playing with some of these other stars. Some of LeBron James' biggest friendships came from playing on some of those USA squads. And he's robbing himself of that opportunity. I feel he's probably not going to steal anyone from the Celtics roster or something like that, but maybe he steals a good role player that could have fit well with him in Phoenix. But no, he's just a young guy making an irrational decision in my mind. But yeah, he does have his supporters. So one of our favorite Twitter personas, KD, came out in support of the no double teams clause. So KD on Twitter, guard up, it's pickup. If you weak defensively, then work on it in summer because you need a double during the season, then coach sitting you on the vine. So this brings me to our next kind of set of talking points here. Who's a better Twitter follow, AB or KD?
They're both ridiculous right now. I almost want to say KD, though, just because he has burner accounts and he'll call anybody out. If you're a random fan and you just message KD hey, you're trash, he will respond to you. Whereas AB, I don't think does that as much. He has had some times where he's gone out of his way to respond to people he really didn't need to. But KD is always posting crazy stuff. He's super sensitive to media and social media. And so if you go at him, right, and KD, you're trash, he'll spend his whole week thinking about something to say to you. So I got to give it to KD. I think both of them need to stay off social media, though. If I'm their agent.
I mean, the thing, too, is KD literally just has a whole year just to tweet nonsense from the bench while he's just waiting to get back out there for the Nets. And speaking of the Nets, so both KD and Kyrie are pushing for Carmelo to get signed over there. Is this a good fit or is it a pity signing?
I mean, I think it's kind of a pity signing. Now, with KD being hurt, right, for this whole season, he's going to be out this whole season. I don't think it hurts to at least have him on maybe the 1-year deal, right, and a 1-year team option or something like that, a vet minimum, where it's low risk to you. It keeps Kyrie happy. It keeps KD happy. And then you maybe get to have a farewell tour for Carmelo or something, though I know he never played for the Nets. He played a lot of his career with the opposing team, the Knicks. But at least you get to send Carmelo off sort of in the right way.
Is it the right way, though? I mean,
yeah,
averaging less than 20 points, looking like a shell of himself. We talked about it when we were mentioning Carmelo's interview on First Take. how do we want to remember Carmelo? Do we want to remember him as Denver Nuggets, New York Knicks, Carmelo putting up 50-point games, just the sheer athleticism, everything? Or, I mean, honestly, chubby, just, again, shell of his former self, Carmelo, going out there, having a Vince Carter second half to his career where he's just driving down his per game averages week by week. If I'm not mistaken, he didn't make a single shot in his last game against OKC, which should have been a big game for him.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's sort of just sad, the trajectory that Carmelo's been on. And then he came out with the interview, saying that the game doesn't love him back. And so you just sort of feel bad for the dude, right? Sort of like a little bit of what we were talking about with Conor McGregor is like, the aura has worn off. Now with Conor McGregor, like, he still has a little bit of that aura, but with Carmelo, it's sort of like you got forced out of this league. You're not a good player.
So with that said, I guess the moral of the story is stop doing ESPN interviews. Do interviews with us. We'll make you feel good.
I guess that could be the takeaway, right? So I mean, I know I know what you're saying. Is it the right way to send Carmelo? To me, I personally think it's better than being forced out and saying, hey, you're never playing again, and the league forced you out. So at least you come back, come off the bench, and if you could help Kyrie maybe get to the playoffs again, right? And you go out on that note.
Let's talk about it a little. What's a successful season for this Nets team, knowing they're probably not going to have Durant?
Yeah, so they're not going to have Durant. D'Angelo Russell was able to get them to the playoffs last year. They had a first round. Yeah, they had a first round exit. So I would say if you're Kyrie, you almost have to feel like you at least have to make the playoffs again, which I think they will, especially in the East, right? Is still weaker compared to the West. But yeah, I would say I'd be happy with another first round exit, more competitive though, right? Like maybe get it to a 7-game series. And if you go out in the first round, then you say, hey, we're looking good. We're going to get KD back next year. And, then we're making our push for the finals.
Just the sheer personalities that they would throw into that room, though, if they added Kyrie, Carmelo, and KD, it sounds like just something ready to implode right there. Speaking of our other favorite Twitter follow, though, AB, so he had to strike back at former teammate Big Ben this week. So Ben was in an interview himself, and he was sounding very remorseful. He wishes he could have done things different. He says, I think I ended a friendship here. But then he did the typical Big Ben thing and strikes back. He's like, I did the same thing to rookie James Washington, and he thanked me for it. Which, if you're going to compare James Washington, a rookie, to potential, Hall of Famer Antonio Brown, that's a whole different thing. Then AB comes in there. He's just like, never friends, just had to get my ends. Shut up already. So I think with just the damage that AB's done to his legacy in the last 5 months, do you see Ben more as a sympathetic figure now? Are you still putting up the same theory? Because whenever like this whole thing started to blow up, I definitely was feeling for AB, thought Ben was the worst, and then just like they just flip-flopped like consistently, and it's only one to blame is AB.
Yeah, no, so I totally get it, right? And there was a lot of personalities in that locker room. I think we've said it before on this show, but I know we've at least said it, when we're talking to between ourselves offline, is that it's almost like an NBA team, right? So we just talked about Kyrie, KD, Carmelo being, sort of a weird locker room dynamic. It was the same thing when you had Le'Veon Bell, AB, Big Ben. Now, I think you're exactly right. Is Big Ben never should have said like, oh, well, I talked to a rookie and he responded, well, yeah, of course. Like what exactly is Washington supposed to do? Tell you off, right? Like you've won Super Bowls and you're his quarterback. You're, the veteran, and he's a rookie. Like he's not going to tell anybody off. He's just going to shut up and take it. Even if he didn't take it well and thank you after, like he's not going to tell you anything, right? But so I think Big Ben made a mistake in saying that. He probably should have left that part out of his interview. But, yeah, the whole AB saga, and the crazy things AB has been doing, coming in on hot air balloons, freezing his feet, like, to me, it just makes AB look like, oh, yeah, you're a big headache. Like, I feel bad for Ben Roethlisberger having to put up with you.
Well, let's go down the list, like, of everything that he's done since he got out of Pittsburgh. Actually, I think he even did, like, the shop interview before he got out of Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken. So, shop interview, dyes his mustache, has that Twitter beef with Juju where, well, not me, with Juju Smith-Schuster,
Yep.
where they're just going back and forth, and he came out the worst for that one, too. Like, remember when he did that one, like, he dropped Juju dropping into his DMs, and it was like, hey, Mr. AB, can you help me out with my wide receiving skills? And AB threw that out there like that was supposed to be some sort of disrespect to him. Of course he's going to ask the greatest receiver in the game at that point for tips. Who wouldn't? It makes sense. Like, if you're aspiring in any career to ask the most successful person what they do well. Going on besides that, so like you mentioned, the hot air balloon, the cold feet, the helmet issue, which he's still going on and on about. I just watched Hard Knocks last night, and he's just talking about how the helmet sucks, it's uncomfortable, yada, 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 yada. And it's just like, what's next?
Yeah.
Next?
Even something
go for it, man.
Even something that you sort of left out, right, is even he wasn't supposed to be a Raider first. He was supposed to be a Buffalo Bill first. And even then, he forced his way out of that. Like,
my Niners, too, we were like the favorite to land him. Jerry Rice was all for it. He was hyping him up. And we bailed on it because we just saw that train wreck waiting to happen. And we thought, you know what? Our neighbors across the bay probably should take him with them to Vegas.
Yeah, and then, we go back to the Juju Smith-Schuster thing, right? Is Juju is one of the nicest people by all accounts that I've ever heard. One of the nicest dudes. Juju Smith-Schuster, you're very nice too, Juju. But Juju Smith-Schuster, right, is one of the nicest guys. Very humble beginning. He's always smiling. So even in the preseason, every time they show him on the sideline, he's just got a big old smile, big old grin. He never talks bad about anybody. He didn't even call out AB. He just said, hey, Big Ben's a great leader, that's the quarterback that's going to be thrown to you this season. Like, why wouldn't you say that he's a good leader? And then AB comes out and just starts attacking Juju out of nowhere, and Juju didn't even say anything to him. And so, yeah, AB's just looking like a huge headache. And honestly, people have been saying, oh, there's addition by subtraction with the Steelers. I think it showed a little bit in the preseason. Like, I personally, I'm a biased Steelers fan, but I think we've looked pretty good so far. We didn't win our last game against Carolina, but I think this team looks better.
Preseason week 4, no one cares. You
Nobody
bring
cares.
Positive influence like a Devin Bush. You ship out AB. Here's a question as we close out this topic. Does AB even make it to Vegas?
His contract is hard to get rid of, right? Like,
you're paying still.
Yeah, it's hard to get rid of. And so there's not a whole lot of people, especially with AB's behavior, like, you can't trade him, right? Like, we already said Bills, 49ers, like, they basically said, nope, we're giving up on this. We don't want him here. So what other teams really want him? There's not a whole lot of coaches that would be able to control AB. I think at this point he feels that he's bigger than, a lot of teams are, or at least than a lot of coaches, especially with all that he's accomplished. And so I would like to say that, yeah, they get rid of him if he continues this way, but I just don't know how you feasibly can.
Yeah, I mean, as the Canadian Raiders would say, he's 20 yards short of a full football field.